Oh, hello.
Okay, I'm set.
All right, so we will do this, and then we are going to. Why am I? Doesn't make any sense. Hold up. Sorry. Microphone. Hey. And then you are okay.
Hey.
Yep, you're good.
Hey.
Hey. We definitely don't want to do that around Schooly. All right. 3, 2, 1. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wait. Teacher entered the waiting room. He might be on.
Oh.
It says teacher. Let's see what happens here.
Let's do it.
This could be school. Is that Schooly?
There he is. He's connecting the audio. I can't believe this is really happening.
Is this really happening?
I'm
Schooly,
so,
is that
so
you?
Excited.
Not happening.
This is all a dream.
Really
it was all a dream.
I'm like, I reached out to this guy more than anybody else that I ever pursued.
Yeah, I'm sorry, School.
No,
Jesse,
he's probably this guy is the most annoying guy in the world, probably.
I am.
School, you have to understand, you are with probably one of your biggest fans ever. I mean, we both love your stuff, so you're in good hands.
Well, yeah, we hope so.
We hope so, or we might just you might hang up on us.
This was like the mid-90s. You would have to be guessing, because back then they would bomb you like, yeah, come on the show, fucking black motherfucker, sexist.
Really?
I used to get that shit all the time, man. Right. That's why I stopped doing colleges, because the girls would show. Aha, we got you, you black sexist bastard.
Are you serious? That is crazy.
It's probably because you recorded Mr. Big Dick. That's probably why.
Yeah, something like
$2
that.
bitches on my.
I didn't get it. Actually, no, they liked that song. It was some of the other stuff.
Oh yeah,
I don't know.
That's funny.
We'll get into
what it was, but it was some of the other stuff.
We'll get into it.
Bob Black Sheep was.
We didn't announce the show.
All right, we're gonna announce school. Thank you, because you're early. We thought we were gonna be 20 minutes.
I'm early.
Well, I mean,
no, you're on time. We thought you were gonna be late.
I'm usually like fucking a half hour late.
I love this, man. Well, we're both on the West Coast, so it's like morning here, man. So it's all good. This is but Len, that's Len. I'm John. Len is a Philly guy. I'm a New York guy. We both live in LA now, and we host this podcast called Everything is Personal. Okay. And we always talk about we're both in the cannabis business, but we talk a lot about hip hop, especially old school hip hop.
Yeah.
And Schooly, I'm a DJ. You can see my stuff. I've been DJing since I've been in 5th grade.
Yeah.
Original print. Oh, yeah. And I have my original, and I bought it, at the record store, my original Gucci Time P.S.K 12-inch. So I've known about you since I've been a kid, and we're both the same. And this is Len and I bonded over our love of your music. So anyway, it's a thrill to have you on. So Len, let me count you off, and then we'll just start. We're taping Schooly, so you can always cut stuff out. And you prefer Jesse or Schooly?
Yeah. How do you want to be called? Mr. Weaver?
You could both. We could use both. Just confuse everybody.
Yeah. Let's just throw them off the game.
No, it's just good. So this teacher up there, but it's like this.
Yeah, your teacher.
Yeah. So SchoollyD. So So it's teacher.
It's a teacher. That's right.
You want to change it?
No, it's perfect.
Well, whatever you want.
That's what I'm saying.
It's fine. Everybody knows who you are.
Yeah, I know. It took me 5 years, but you can grow my high top fade back.
I see that.
Yeah,
I can get that going again. I don't think that's happening for me, man.
Exactly. All right.
I want to go over some logistics, just so you know. So basically, the way we will announce the show, then we'll announce you as a guest. You can make your own introduction if you want. Then we'll go through a bunch of questions. John and I have a bunch of things to ask. And I usually ask our guests 3 questions, like everybody gets the same 3 questions. After we're done with that, you can disconnect and you're free to go and, do way more important stuff.
It's your night. It's like our day here.
Cool.
Yeah. And if we can, all right, cool. Len, 3, 2, 1, boom.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Everything is Personal.
Personal. Oh, yeah.
Is And as always, my wonderful co-host, Mr. John Small.
Well, I am thrilled to be here. This is probably the most exciting show we have ever done. No offense to any of our other
probably.
guests.
This is
this is it.
I love all our guests are amazing, but this is our personal.
This is the one.
Guest.
This is the one we have been waiting for our whole lives.
Yes.
I better not suck, right?
All right. So,
and
is that you scratching by? Well, I'm sorry. I'm already stepping on the.
Yeah, we didn't say who it is. Let's make it proper introduction. So this is
Cold Money. He was 17.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, Mr. SchoollyD is on. Mr.
SchoollyD.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
sometimes
Godfather.
2 L's and sometimes with 1 L. It depends on if I was smoking weed and I forgot an L. I swear to God.
Or you were smoking an L.
I was, yeah.
There you go.
You want to hear a funny L story?
Yeah.
Because you know in Philly we got the L train. In New York you got the L train.
Yeah.
So I was meeting a friend of mine, Pablo, and he said take the L train. So I'm looking around, looking up in the sky. Well, where the fuck is the L train? Because in Philly the L train is the elevated train.
Yeah.
In New York, it's the L train.
It's the underground. You're on.
Yeah, it's underground. I'm like, nigga, where the motherfucker goddamn.
I went to school in High School of Engineering and Science on 17th and Norris in North Philly. So I had to take the L every single day to get. I lived in the Northeast Philly, and I took the train every day to North Philly. So I have a question. Parkside, right? Did you grew up on Parkside? And for anybody who's not from Philly, can you give like a description of what that was like?
It was the weirdest shit in the world. Because when we moved out there, it was a Jewish community.
Right.
It was a heavily Jewish community. I think we were like the third black people on the block.
Really?
Until a year later, it was like one Jewish family.
We got the Jutang clan here.
We're
two Jews.
It was a really nice middle class Jewish community.
Yeah.
And then it became a nice middle class 2 cars family community, and that lasted about, I don't know, maybe 10 years.
Yeah.
Until they closed. So it was like, so basically we had a horse farm, we had the tracks, we had Acme Bakery, the bakery, and you wake up in the morning, this huge bakery, and you smell all the fucking buns and shit was cooking. The school I went to was Man School, and Dr. Ed Bradley, before he left to go to 60 Minutes, he was our vice principal.
Wow.
And he's partly responsible for me starting my label, because when I was a kid, it was just like, look, before I leave, I want to give you guys a job, and your job is to, when you grow up, you have to change the minds of the world how they see black boys and black girls and brown boys and brown girls. So I'm just like, I'm 6. I'm just like, fuck that shit. I got a job. I got purpose. Because it was purpose. Because back then, in the 60s, it was like it was little boy, little girl, you could do whatever you want to do when you grow up. And they should have told my black ass that. Because I believed all that shit. I believed all that, and I didn't fuck around with no bullshit. No adult was gonna tell me to do something they wasn't gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
I was that motherfucking kid.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was like that. And then when GM closed down and all the other factories closed down, it went downhill really fast. Because it was just like my father, he worked at GM, he built many Cadillacs, and he also worked at the post office. So when GM closed down, he still had the post office. But a lot of families just didn't have a job. So we were close. So Parkside is a triangle, and it's just kind of just like, it's not part of anything.
Right.
It's not part, it's not even like, people don't even, in West Philly, don't even consider that West Philly.
Yeah.
So it's like right off the corner, and you had the Schuylkill River, you had lakes, you had horses, you had a park, you had trees, you had a golf course, you had all that shit growing up. So it's me as a kid growing up, you know what I'm saying? I felt anything was possible. Why the fuck, you know what I'm saying? It was just like, it wasn't North Philly.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It's a beautiful area. That's why I want you to talk about.
No bad North Philly because the riots had already happened. Ridge Avenue had already happened.
Yeah.
Those riots, when it happened, when Ridge Avenue, those riots happened, Ridge Avenue never was reclaimed. You know, so North Philly was bad, but it was just kind of like West Philly was kind of just like, it was like they said that, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know how good looking that Ed Raleigh was? You know what I mean? Big tall blazer, do what you want to do, man. Do what you want to do.
That's super inspirational. And I'm glad you're saying that because I think people get the wrong impression of Parkside and West Philly. It's such a beautiful area, rich in culture and beautiful architecture and all that stuff. I think people don't see it that way. North Philly is not even close to being the same.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say, but you know, I traveled back and forth to Atlanta. So
yeah, you lived in Atlanta for a while too.
My family's there.
Right.
I graduated high school in Atlanta.
Right.
It's like I moved back there like every 5-6 years. I moved back to Atlanta.
Even when you were a kid?
I haven't been back in 12 years.
Even so, when you were a kid, you were going back and forth between Philly and Atlanta?
Yeah, because it's like I would learn something in Philly, and I would move to Atlanta to enjoy it. Because you know, Atlanta, I mean, it's just like it's like the most transport in Atlanta is from Philly and DC.
Uh-huh.
And you know somebody, and you know 20, 30 motherfuckers in Atlanta. And you buy these mansions and these big cars and it's open and they have Freaknik and all that shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So a lot of cats live there. A lot of cats still do live there. But going back, so in the mid 70s, and I think it's we were on the block. We were the first divorced family, well, separated family.
Right.
And it was like a big shit. And then somewhere around 78. Well, I'm gonna say about 76. It was like the gangs really started. You couldn't go no fucking where. If you're from West Philly, you didn't go to North Philly. If you're from North Philly, you didn't go nowhere. Yeah. If the bitches you had in your neighborhood, that's the bitches you dated. You know what I'm saying?
And your friends dated the same ones, and everybody is in
Them bitches had it good. You know, I'm serious. You couldn't go no fucking where.
Right.
You couldn't go no 6:30, like lights was on, man. You better get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They all cool up until like 6:30. You gotta get the fuck out, go back to your own neighborhood. You couldn't travel in Philly around Philadelphia until like 82. When like, and that's when the drug gangs started.
Yeah.
So back then it was gangs, and it was like street gangs. It was territory gangs, and they sold weed and just shit like that. Our big thing was the trains used to come through. Yeah. Every spring. And like Toys R Us and all that shit. I don't know why they parked them up. Man, we popped them up like a lot. Motherfuckers, man. We fucking went with 4 fucking twin bikes and shit, man. I think they did that shit just to keep us from not killing all the white people. I swear to God.
So they just parked these trains
these trains came through and just popped. And the police knew they sit there and they say, well, okay, that's enough. They had a couple hours. Then they come out and start chasing everybody. I remember it was a friend of mine, 2 friends of mine. This is when freebasing started. It wasn't crack. It was freebasing.
Yeah.
And my 2 friends, and I'm not gonna say their name, but it was like they had this huge fucking industrial fucking air conditioner. Yeah. We was laughing because the police, they didn't know the police, they was just following right beside them and shit. They was running and shit. The pipes, that's when I first saw pipes and shit start busting, coming out there when they got arrested. And we didn't know what they were, but it was, and even in that part, it was still magical.
Yeah.
Even in that part, it was still magical because, you know, everybody had to go down the kangaroo line. Felt like a man. Go down twice. It was boxing on the weekends.
Yeah.
But I think what a horrible thing happened was it got real tight, and blocks started to fight each other.
Yeah.
You know, blocks. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, you couldn't go to the neighborhood. Shit, you couldn't go to the next block over fuck with some bitch. because bitches got tight. It was like 3 5 bitches in the neighborhood.
That's it.
You know what I'm saying?
It always goes like that.
It always goes like, and then everybody started losing their job.
Yeah.
All the fathers was losing their job. Like all of a sudden, all the mothers went back to work. So shit was just kind of like, shit was changing in the 80s. And then all of a sudden, you know, I'm down in Atlanta and I come back and I remember we was smoking weed and I was like, man, this weed is bullshit, man. It's some bullshit ass weed. It was 14 of us and it was, so one of my homies pulled out a crack pipe and was like, well, shit, I got something better than that. And the thing is, I'm like, what? It's just, there's this thing called crack. And the first thing came to my mind, I was like, I ain't smoking something out somebody cracking somebody's ass. It was like, nah, man, it's this thing, man. But everybody, they looked at it and said, but you can't smoke at school.
Yeah. Because
you're insatiable. I've always been insatiable.
Okay.
I've always been that dude. It's just like, dude, why do you always have to think so big? Why do you have to, why are you staring at the stars? Why do we have to do things like this? Yeah. Why do you want us to be so big? I'm just like, well, what the fuck is we on earth for?
Right. Yeah. Be grand.
And 30 days later, all 13 of those guys was crackheads. My closest friends.
And you didn't do it, right?
I never smoked crack in my life. It was just like,
That's good.
That was, and I think we started getting better somewhere around 85, 86. It was like, it was a 3-year drought.
Well, that's good because otherwise everybody would just be smoking crack. Only crack.
Yeah, well, that's because we started getting that shit from Canada too. We started BC stuff in Philly, and that was like the kind bud there. It was really
cool. And all of a sudden it was just like kind of like, but it was so you go from the street gangs to drug gangs, and drug gangs was about money. So drug gangs was about like, didn't matter what neighborhood you was from.
Right.
It was like they just, whoever had the money just pulled together. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Whoever was selling all the pots dealers and shit, they just pulled the money together and became big crack kingpins overnight. Like overnight, motherfuckers everybody had 5 cars. Everybody was rich. Everybody was fucking rich. For 15 years, everybody was rich.
Yeah.
So that's weird. Went from, you know, a Jewish middle-class family, to Black middle-class family, to street gangs, to crack gangs.
Yeah.
That fast. And in between the crack gangs and the street gangs, it was just like neighborhoods started to be run down, but all of a sudden, the influx of crack, everything was shiny again. Yeah. People were fixing up their mama's homes, and people was buying new homes, and it was big. Crack dealers had big party barbecues out in the park, and it was fixing up light posts, and you know what I'm saying? It was like, and no, I don't know how many people knew where all the money was coming from, because they was kids. Their kids ain't had no fucking job. Most of them didn't even graduate high school. All of a sudden, it's like, here you go, mama. Here's a Lexus, or you know what I'm saying? Here's a Honda Accord, or that's what.
I mean, you show that to a kid. Why would you not want that? Right.
Yeah.
And he didn't, and nobody asked. It's like we just watched the Biggie documentary, and that's what we were talking about. You know, standing on the corner, slinging all that stuff, and everybody had money, and like, where did it come from? Nobody questioned. They knew.
Nobody questioned this shit. But me, I had a different route to get my money for my record label, because that was. I would already, because when I was a kid, I knew I was going to be an artist. But
were you already making music?
That's the story of 52nd and Parkside.
Yeah.
But now it's like nobody's there anymore. It's like a big Lowe's, and they just came and knocked everything down. Yeah. I think my mother's old house we sold that years ago. Yeah. I think some people squatting there. I think, let's say if it was 25 blocks, I'm going to say 10 blocks are left. And they all squeeze.
So what can I ask? So you said you're always doing music, and what was the first rap you ever heard?
I mean, if you think about George Clinton, you know,
P-Funk.
You know what I'm saying? That
was what you were listening
Brown you know, it's like that was rap because it was called rapping, but it wasn't the term. It wasn't a genre rap yet.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right. So it was, I'm gonna say, well, everybody the fuck else out of New York.
Yeah.
It's a Sugar Hill Gang. Yeah. Everybody else. Other than New York, they heard rap 6 years before everybody else did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I was still hooked on Dance to the Drummer's Beat. That was the baddest song.
Let's dance.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Let's dance to the drummer's beat.
I couldn't believe anybody was gonna make anything better than that.
Yeah, yeah.
Me being the drummer, I was just like, you know what I mean?
Right.
I was playing that shit. So I remember was going back to Atlanta and my Pimp Pretty, he's dead now. He was telling me about rap. And he said, I think it's something you can do. Because he was like, because I know you want to sing, man, but you ain't James Brown. So he was like, it's this thing called rap. And I didn't believe him. And I was leaving the next day, and it came when he ran over and he kicked my mother, kicked the screen door in. It was like, this is the Sugar Hill Gang. Just think about the Sugar Hill Gang. That was like all, and that was it. And then I got on the airplane and I had them send down like all the rap to Atlanta as I was finishing high school. And it was, but the rap, the Funky 4+1 is the one. Then I said,
it's the joint.
I could do this.
Yeah.
When I heard Funky 4 rapping and rocking the house, because they were talking about riding cars, fucking with bitches, shooting niggas. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Getting in trouble on Saturday night. It wasn't hip hop. It wasn't. I liked it, and you still like it. You love that fucking song, but it was just something missing for me. When I heard the Funky 4+1. It was, and then it had Sha Rock, and I love women's vocals, man. It just touched me, and she was holding her own. She was killing it and kicking it.
Yeah,
I was like, excuse me.
I love that your influence was. I mean, I think she's the first female rapper ever, Sha Rock.
Yeah, she's and she was everything. She was I still remember having her posters in my bedroom. I took down Shaka Khan and put up Sha Rock.
Well, there's a question that you already answered. It's one of my questions. What it looks like. I wanted to ask in terms of you recorded. If I read it correctly, you recorded P.S.K. with DJ Code Money. You guys did it yourselves, and then I'm having this vision because I used to be a music buyer for Tower Records. Did you guys actually go into like what's a Sound of Market and like Tower Records and try to sell the tapes that you guys made?
I had already had SchoollyD Records in 1982.
Wow.
I put out Gangsta Boogie.
Right.
So I already knew all the guys. And our crew before that was the 5-2 crew, Cut Masters and MCs. It was the 5-2 crew. And I named the Cut Masters and MCs. Because back then everybody was going for the big names and shit.
Right.
So I already knew all the guys. We used to go down and buy records. So I knew Sound of Market. I knew Funko Mark. I knew
Funko Mark, right?
You know, so I knew all those guys. And then, and it was like, dude, just like, and I was selling mixtapes. They were selling my mixtape back before they called them mixtapes.
Right.
And it was DJ crew, but I had the song Gangsta Boogie was at the tail end of that tape. And cats would come back and say, no, we want to do, because nobody had a name on it. You know what I'm saying? And my partner's, his brother was selling them. We didn't know all over Philly. And he kept coming back asking me, he's like, no, move your stuff up to the front. And he didn't tell me he was fucking, because we had like 20 tape machines. He was up there just selling. And so the guys at Funko Mark said, man, you should turn that into a record. If you turn that into a record, we'll sell it.
Got it.
So cool. Your style, your style was so original. Like everybody who knows about rap always credits you with starting quote unquote gangster rap, right? Because you were the first person that anybody ever remembers rapping about, the street and using a lot of
what was going on.
Yeah. How did you even get that influence? I mean, you mentioned Funky 4+1, but I think of like It's the Joint. I don't know. I think of like, what are they doing? How did your style of rapping? It just, everything seemed very original. Like everybody ended up copying you. I mean, Ice-T even admits that he copied you.
Right. The cadence,
but
sure.
Where did you get your influence? Because I feel like you were doing something that nobody else was doing.
Well, it was like a lot of rappers that was just rapping, and everybody was fast rapping.
Right.
Yeah.
And the shit I was saying, it's like I wanted to get some kind of reaction.
Yeah.
You know, it was like damn, bitch, suck my dick. And Bill, the motherfucker, oh shit, that nigga crazy. And grandmothers and whoever was at the block party, it was just like they was waiting for me when I got on the mic. So I had to slow that shit down. And somebody was, it's like I knew I was going to make. I was going to be an artist in all ways and what, you know what I'm saying? Right. And I was tired of painting because painting was taking me too long. And I was, when I was a kid, I was 8, we had a family band and I played guitar and drums. So I knew it was going to be art and music. So it was like, because it was just like, I wasn't working at the fucking post office. You know what I mean? I knew I was here to do that shit. So I basically just said, man, I'm going to tell these stories because there's no way to be, I want to call it something weed. I wasn't like that.
Yeah, not that
You know
fast.
What I'm saying? You're going to get the best. My age is young. My money is green. I shock all the bitches with my gangster link. That's when motherfuckers turn around and say, who the fuck? Because back then everything was fast.
Yeah.
Fast. So you had to slow, you had to stop.
So you were trying this stuff out. So you were trying this stuff out at live, like at parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, at black parties. It was just like, so you just, they would have to stop. Because the DJs were like, dude, man, come on, man. I got to stop. I'm at 1:22. That shit is at 89. I was like, yeah, but you know, they're going to like it. Don't worry about it. And they did. Yeah. So that's how I got my style.
There was a documentary called Fun in the Big Town.
Yeah.
These guys, was that a moment? Because that's the first time that I ever seen you like on TV or on VHS, whatever it was back then. Was that a pivotal moment that now people started seeing who you were after that came out?
I'm not saying it was that and PBS did something.
Right.
Because my 8x10 used to be a hand drawing. Nobody knew what I looked like. I'll just draw a picture. That's my 8x10. And people will look at it. They want to see who you are. I'm like, nah, man, fuck that bullshit. I want to show. I want to be SchoollyD. I don't want Jesse Bonds and this shit at all. He's the man behind it. But the motherfuckers that you see, because Bootsy was saying all the time, Scooby-Dooby, baby, Bubba, if you keep that shit in the cartoon world, baby, you can do anything you want.
All right.
And that's the truth. So I figured out early, I could be raunchy, I could be smart, I could be intelligent, I could be stupid, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I could be whatever I wanted to be as long as SchoollyD was that person. And people got it. When I show up, and I would just show up. And if I made enough money that week, I might not show up. I was famous for that.
Oh yeah, I'll skip a week.
But so then people started, they started calling my mother. You know what I'm saying? And
I have a booking for Mr. SchoollyD.
When we talk about Ice-T, we'll get to that. And it was just like, and my mother was sitting, baby, you know, you got these people, you know, like, now this thing like 20 grand. But you said you was gonna do it, baby. You said you was gonna do it. Then you go head on down there and perform.
How old were you around this time? Like I
was 20. I started at 20.
Yeah.
21, 22.
Yeah.
So I was early. I knew. Like I said, I knew what I wanted to do.
But you knew what you were doing.
It was that thing that happened. It was from what everybody told me. It was just like, dude, if you ever want to be a rap star, you're gonna have to clean it up, like Melly Mel did for The Message.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I tried that once, and it sucked. That was the record that came out before P.S.K. And I went down, I bought all the records back.
Yeah.
And
really? Because it was that bad? You don't want anybody
to me, it was that bad. I felt like a sellout.
Has anybody ever heard that record?
Yeah. I ain't gonna tell you what it is.
Don't tell me what it is. I don't even know if I want to know. You know,
I want to know.
I want to
hear.
I like
the
SchoollyD. I know.
It was still a SchoollyD beat, but it was just
can you text me on the side? I just want to know.
Look that up.
It was. I felt like a sellout, and I was just like, man, I'm quitting because I sold out. And Royal Ron, who was Ronnie D back then, he was just like, niggas, you crazy. They said, just do me a favor, just try one more time. And I remember sitting out on the steps, and he walked away, and Code walked up. And he was about to graduate high school, and he was just like, hey man, can I be your new DJ? And I knew that I needed some new blood. And I was like, you got some turntables? He's like, not yet. But he took me around to his grandmama's house, and he had this big consoles, and he started scratching. And he was just like, fresh. I was like, yeah. So I'll give you a call tomorrow. And then my boy Manny, who helped start the Parkside Killers, he was listening to like Lady B on Saturday. And he was like, man, these guys out of fucking New York, man, they always talk about their neighborhood. Dude, why don't you talk about us? Why don't you make a record about Parkside Killers? And I was like, yeah. And I swear to God, like a minute right after that, my boy Abdullah, who was selling my mixtapes, who didn't tell me, he pulled up, jumped out this car, yo, Scoop, man, what the fuck, yo? Nigga, you always Gucci down. Why don't you make a motherfucking joint about Gucci and shit? Swear to God, just jumped back in his car and pulled off.
And you're just
like, P.S.K, Gucci. Okay.
Did you actually have a Gucci watch?
Yes, everybody was wearing Gucci shit back then.
Yeah.
Everybody was wearing Gucci shit back then.
Throw on my Gucci.
It was like
underwear.
the bitch would go down to Atlantic City, because that's the Gucci store. It was in Atlantic City.
Yep.
And they just go in and cut the racks, boom, snatch all that shit. Come back to 52nd and Market, just be out there selling Gucci sneakers and shit, Gucci watches. The real shit. They had fake shit too, but we had the real shit. So it was or you had to go down to John Wanamaker, get a Gucci watch. Yeah. And you had to wait till somebody snatch one. And that was risky. So
P.S.K was your first.
P.S.K Gucci Time I wrote that week.
And those beats, did you program those beats?
Yes, I did. And Gucci Time was a drum beat that I did. I was going to play drums. I was playing drums.
Yeah.
And my friends were just like, yo, man, it's just like people don't like black people playing instruments right now.
What the hell is that?
It's another Questlove. I mean,
yeah.
I'm like, what?
That was later.
People don't like black people playing instruments.
Yeah.
And a month before, we just got the 909 in the crew, and they gave it to me. And it was like, won't you see if you can work with it? Because before that, we was working with Dr. Rhythm, so they gave me the 909. Nobody ever seen the shit again, because I mastered that shit in 2 days. So I just turned the Gucci Town beat for my drums, because I had a cassette. I just listened to it over and over and over again.
Right. And the reverb you used. I don't know what effect you used. I've tried to replicate that.
There's that echo too, man.
Yeah, the echo, that reverb.
Echo reverb.
I ordered that at a classical studio.
Oh.
So they had a real plate reverb.
So that was real echo.
That's a real plate reverb. All right.
Yeah.
I always wondered how you got that sound.
I recorded everything live, so it was like all the scratches, just playing live, and code and scratching vocals. Everything was like live. So yeah, I wrote both of those songs in 1 week, and the next week there was records.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it was but we smoked so much fucking weed. I mean, in the studio, the weed, we couldn't even see the console.
It's like a cloud.
I kept saying, more reverb, man. We all passed out. But we didn't know the guy, the engineer, he lied to his boss and said he's recording some symphony or some shit like that.
Right.
He woke us up. We all fell asleep. Said, "Yo, man, you gotta get these niggas out of here." And so, like,
you guys just passed out in the studio.
Motherfucker was coming in with bow ties and shit.
It's the symphony orchestra coming in.
Yeah, and they was just like they didn't, and it was fucked up because they didn't want us in there because they said we was gonna steal some shit, and I was offended.
Oh man,
we did steal some shit, but I made everybody take it back because it was just like, man, that's fucked up. This dude, he gonna lose his. He did wind up losing his job, so they. He had some expensive ass microphones too, man. It was just like $400,000 microphones, and it was like 3 of them. You know, I just gathered them and said, I'm gonna start my career off like that. You know what I'm saying? So I took him back. They fired his ass anyway. But it was just like, but I was about to take the reverb off because I felt like, I said, man, this shit is dusty.
No.
And my boy Len, DJ Len, he pulled me aside. He was like, you take that fucking reverb out, I'm gonna shoot you myself, nigga. Look at these motherfuckers was just kind of just like, they gave me a standing ovation on 52nd Park. It was like they was outside my mama's house, and it was just like, well fucking done. Because it was unlike,
there was nothing that
sounded like legendary. It's legendary.
Anything.
It's like,
and really, honestly, not even after did anybody really do anything.
Yeah,
no,
not really.
You can't.
I don't really know anything that sounds like that. I mean, that P.S.K beat has been sampled so many times.
More than over 350
I hope you're getting paid off that.
Yeah, I'm, you know, the thing is, like, I wrote the lyrics and the music, so it was kind of like,
that's good.
Hey, you know what I want to ask you, Abel Ferrara, did you guys have, like, how did you meet? And because all these movies, man, like The Bad Lieutenant, they're using your music.
I started working with him. I was he was shooting King of New York.
Yeah, King of New York.
And he was looking for music. And, you know, sorry, New Yorkers, but he was just like, nah. I think the closest he came was Big Daddy Kane. But it was a DP, and he was like, he had a Saturday night tape. And this is the guy, he was from England, and he worked on my Saturday night tour, the UK tour in '86. And he still had the tape. And he gave it to Abel, and it blew his mind. And I was working on Am I Black Enough for You? And he gave me a call, and he was just like, yo, man, he said he was trying to find me for like a month. He was just like, is this really SchoollyD?
Like me. I was trying to get you for like 2 months.
Before I even met Len, I've been trying to get you on my podcast, man. I have my own.
So yeah, you're a hard guy to reach. So yeah, it's all good.
And then
it's the mystery of SchoollyD.
That's right.
I know. I had a lawyer. This is how Jewish I am. I had to find
your first
lawyer.
Mistake, man. You can't get a lawyer to go after school.
Well, some lawyer in Philly is the one who introduced me to you on email, but then that didn't work. So whatever. But I'm so glad we found you.
Lawyer.
So I turned down King of New York. I turned it down 10 times. It was just kept
crazy.
Calling. I was like, is you white? He was like, yeah. I was like, click. It was just like, who the fuck? I think it made him want the music more. He's like, this is some real shit.
Wow.
And I try to explain to him, man. I'm like, you're like a character actress. I'm in character right now. I'm doing this album, and it's called Am I Black Enough for You? And it's like I'm doing like all these songs, like don't call me Whitey, don't call me nigga, no, super nigga bad, Black Jesus. I was just like in my whole thing.
Right.
And he said, yeah, I understand that. He said, but did you ever think about becoming a film composer? And I was like, absolutely, yeah. When I was a kid, me and my mother, we used to watch all these musicals, like West Side Story, Oklahoma. Wow. And I fell in love with music. And we used to watch like a Sunday matinee.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me, well, I'm like, well, what about if you use this and that? She was like, well, turn the music down, and in your head, you create music. And that's like a thing that they do.
Wow. Right.
At NYU. And he was just like, well, just give me a chance and let me use some of your music. So even before I said yeah, as I was recording the album, he was going to RCA, who was my distributor, and he told them that I said yeah. He was just like taking the music and putting it in to King of New York.
Right.
Nice.
As I was recording it, and then he called me up, sent the limo down to Philly, and he was just like, look, dude, I'm gonna tell you something, man. If I gotta take all this music out, it's gonna cost me $80,000. So please like it.
It's in.
And I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was
so incredible.
It's incredible.
I mean, to watch those scenes, like I'm trying to remember. There's one scene where I think they're all in the apartment, and everybody's doing drugs and hooking up, and your music. I mean, just such a, I think that sort of thing influenced maybe even like Tarantino when he starts using.
And we know it influenced, I mean, Biggie calls himself Frank White after that, right?
Exactly.
I mean, that movie is so influential in hip hop later.
Amazing.
And that movie has a different life in itself. It's just like, it's sort of like me and Abel. And so I started working with him. I did like, the year after, I just left making records right after that because I just went to Capitol. They gave me all this money, and Abel flew out to California and said, "Look, man, I think you should come start working with me." And he said, and this is the thing. He said, "Look, if you make a record and it's on the radio, a year, maybe two. Once it's off the radio, it's done.
Right.
Until it becomes a classic 30 years later." That's the way they treat Black music. That's the way it is. That's just how it is. But if you write songs for me, it'll go into the theaters, stays in the theaters, go to the penny shop, stays to the penny shop. Then it goes on HBO, then it goes on Showtime, then it goes on back then, it goes on VCS, then it goes on DVD, then it goes on ABC, then it goes on CBS, and so that shit lasts forever.
Forever, right?
It said, doesn't matter when people hear your music. I was like, when you put it like that, no. He said, you want to create the kind of music that you want to create. It's like, I see this. You ain't gonna change. You ain't not gonna stop. You not gonna stop saying nigga, bitch, motherfucker, eat my dick, balls, head, fuck you, crackers. You ain't never gonna stop saying that shit. It's impossible. And it's like, but you got this thing. It's like, and it was like, you write all the music, right? I'm like, yeah. I said, well, you're a film composer. Just come work with me. And this was like 90, 91. And I was just like, you know what?
Wow.
And, you know, I asked my whole crew, said, you guys want to come? I guess I'm thinking because hip hop, film, and everything, it wasn't really that big. And they weren't 8 years old like I was, thinking about like when I grow up, I'm going to write music for films. And then when I was 10, I said, when I grow up, I'm gonna tell my mom, said, Mom, write me a Scooby-Doo song, which turned out to be Aqua Teen. So I was thinking about that when I was 8, 9, and 10. Wow. They weren't. They was just like, they was just trying to get some 40, smoke some crack, fuck some bitches, get some gold. You know what I'm saying? They seen that shit and said, how the fuck we gonna fuck? I said, dude,
big picture.
Have you ever been to the south of France? Have you ever been to Cannes?
Exactly.
And they kept saying, a can? Like, why would I want to go to a can? Like, these niggas is fucked up.
Right.
These niggas is fucked up. I'm
the only
fucking
can
out.
They want is
something. I left.
Budweiser.
And right after that, I'm not saying it was a void, but but the void that was just like, just took a piece out, and was over there somewhere on the beach. And all of a sudden, it was just like, they had to put it back together. They put it back together with Ice-T, NWA, MC Ren, Too Short, you know what I'm saying? The 3 Mob, guys from Houston, you know what I'm saying? So it was just like, it turned into that thing without me. And I really didn't notice it because I was like always reading the script. I was in San Francisco. I was always in Miami. I was always like Tribeca Film Festival. You know what I'm saying? It was like my world. When that world becomes your world, that world becomes your fucking world.
Right? Yeah.
No, you're not, because when people think of music, they think of soundtrack. Like, yeah, make an album, make a soundtrack. You know what I'm saying? For this thing to get a bunch of crews together, go smoke some weed, some crack in the studio and write some songs. But when you talk about film composing, that's a whole, you gotta read the script. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do an orchestra. You gotta do, you know what I'm saying? It's like it takes up all your fucking life. And these directors, man, they take up all your life. I would get a script from Abel like a year and a half into it.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So I didn't look up to like maybe.
So did you ever, because like you said, you could have followed in the, you know, you could have been, you're the original, right? So you could have been like you're saying, Too Short and Ice-T and all those guys, but you took that different path. Do you ever look back and wonder what it would have been like if you had?
Nope.
Never, right?
Because I'm happy. I love Too Short. I love Ice-T. I love Ice Cube. I love Chuck D. I love L. Cool J. And it's like, and I appreciate that they make records I can jam to. Yeah. People always ask me, like, aren't you just jealous? Won't you, you know, say, man, these motherfuckers, man, look, Man, look, it was like, it was like I was living in my world, and in my world, I was successful.
Yeah.
So what was I to be jealous of? I'm gonna say, like, by the time like Biggie came along, and even after Biggie, that's when there's no jealousy, but that's when the real money started coming in making rap. Because before then, you made money off your royalties, and you sold your, if you was a rapper, you sold your publishing. You got a big publishing, you know what I'm saying? But then after that, Puffy, they started doing vodka deals, you know what I'm saying, clothing deals. That's when the internet start happening. People start, but before then, it was just like, it wasn't
mainstream really yet.
The mainstream was nothing. It was, and I'm gonna say, from my end, the way I looked at it, was nothing for us to be jealous of, because when I seen those cats, it was all successful. Everybody showed, it was the people, it was the fans who really was like, playing that shit off. Like, man,
maybe they were just missing, maybe they were missing your music too, because they didn't realize you were doing soundtracks, and they didn't realize you were, doing what you were passionate about in the moment. So
and that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I had a list of things that I wanted to do. I went to, and then right after, like, I stopped working so much with Abel, because that shit was taxing. I started working with Aqua Teen, and I had enough money in the bank. I just had my daughter. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna work with. And that was like that. But the things that happened to me was purpose stance. I wanted those things to happen. It wasn't like I had a manager who said, like, these are your 5 choices.
Right.
It was like, I made these choices when I was 10.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm saying? I wasn't gonna let nobody stop me from experiencing that shit.
Yeah, and you did work with like some animated series, like in Adult Swim too, right?
And that was like 14 years.
Wow.
Aqua Teen Hunger Force. So that was
yeah.
I mean, in the long run, you made the right, like, because look at your career. Like, a lot of these rappers that we're talking about that came up when you were big, and I don't even know where they are today.
Well, some of them are gone.
Some of them are gone.
And Biggie. I mean,
but we know that rap, it's like every 2 years it kind of changes. The guard changes, and it's a new rap.
Something new.
Like it's Rob Bass 1 minute, and then it's Biggie. It just changes. So I think
it just changes. I think if Biggie was still alive, Biggie would still be. Oh, Biggie would be doing. He'd have his own Netflix special and shit.
Yeah.
He'd be fucking cool.
Sure, no doubt. I think he'd be singing R&B. They were bigger
than life. He
was a different type of thing. He's like a once in a generation. Yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think honestly, I think you're that way too. And in some ways, the way that you just kind of like you did your thing at least in hip hop, like, and then you just stopped. In some ways, that makes your legend even brighter, because it's like this crazy moment in time, and then you just disappeared. You didn't really disappear, but you disappeared from that track. So I don't know. I'm holding you on that. I'm holding you on that same level, Schooly.
No, for sure.
As a Biggie,
absolutely.
You're one of the greats. I really honestly believe that.
Yeah, we definitely.
We always say like top 3 rappers, like Schooly, Rakim.
Yeah, we always.
Yeah, you're up there.
Always. Yeah. Where do you passion for art come from? Actual, like the art that you painting and drawing.
I was painting. The first painting I did was I was 3. I did Snoopy. The first time I did Snoopy was well, I think it was like back, like the same, like in the 60s, it was like you had the Black Panthers, you had the movement, you had the Black nationalists, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You had, get no gang war in 74. You had like all these things. And it was like, that was about being Black, poetry, art, bongos, bitches, weed, you know what I mean?
It all goes together, man.
Instance, and it was just like, if you couldn't play bongos, you couldn't play an instrument. If you couldn't, you wasn't a poet, you wasn't an artist, and it wasn't about the pussy, but you want to get guns.
That's the shrapnel that you get.
So I grew up looking at all those guys and throw in pimps. And they ain't call them gangbangers and none of the gang members.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You talk about gang war. You know what I mean? It was like all of that was growing up, and you picked. I came to Earth to be an artist, so it was just like it was And that's the household I grew up in. Like, what did you come here for? My father would say this shit all the time. You here, you might as well have a fucking good time. You might as well fucking do something, right? It was like, you might as well do something. So what do you want to do? I remember sitting at the table, and everybody was, and this is right after the family band broke up. My brothers, they wanted to get in the gang, so they sold this stuff for weed. I came home, the band was done.
Well, we got some weed though, if you want.
All the weed and shit. Man, we gonna go to the weed business. He was in and out of that shit bad. But it was just like everybody was going around the table, and it was just like, I said, I want to change the world. And it was like, well, you could do that. I said, I want to change the world with my art. I want people to look at my stuff. I want the people to hear my stuff. I want to sing. I just want to change the world. And my brother was like, I want to be a criminal.
That was his.
And he was like, well, why? They were like, well, why? This was, I'm not going to say PC family, before PC family, but it was the mother, my mom was just like, well, honey, baby, let him express himself. Why you want to be a criminal? They got the best cars, they got the best women, they can just smoke weed, they got a lot of money, it was just like, you couldn't argue with that.
Yeah.
I changed the world, and my brother became a professional criminal. And at the age of 16, when he was old enough, because back then it was, you're 16, you made up your mind. Well, my mother was just like, you still want to be a criminal? Oh, yeah, well, she packed his bags and said, go. Out.
How's your brother now?
He is, he's out. He has a nice parole officer. The last time I seen him, we had a stack of records when I was growing up. And we all love Buddy Miles. And he had this song, Buddy Miles had this song called Changes. And I promised my brother, said, you know what? When I grow up, I'm going to sing this song live. And 3 New Year's Eves ago, I fired my band and hired a new band because they're schooling me. Why the fuck you want to sing these songs and shit? And it took me a year. I learned every fucking note Buddy Miles Changes. Hired a new band, and my brother's parole officer brought him down for that night.
Right. To
see me, that 35-year promise or more to sing Changes. When he came in, I still had the album. He said, what's this? I said, remember when I was a kid? I said, when I grow up, I'm gonna sing Changes live. And it was just like, phew.
Wow.
Killed it.
That's beautiful.
Killed it.
Grew up.
And, and he sat, his eyes. I went in the back, I swear to God, came out. This motherfucker was robbed. He was taking niggas pizza money and shit. He wanted some pizzas, and motherfuckers want some pizzas. And he was like, I collect everybody money. I was like, God damn. Like, dude, you know what's wrong? You still
it's in him.
Shit.
It's in his blood, man. It's in his blood.
So it took him back. to where he was, and it was we good. He used to kick my ass all the time. We good now. We good now. He cried that night. He was like, shit. He was like, dude, just like, how the fuck did you have so much focus?
Yeah.
7 years old to damn near 60 to have that much fucking focus. And I don't think artists get enough credit for having focus. I think people look at us like we're flighty. We're like, how much focus you gotta have? It's like, dude, that took focus.
For sure. That
was years and years and years. And you killed that shit.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go back to prison or some shit, I don't know, halfway house. But that was my family. So it was, we lived up to our own expectations. We didn't have to.
Right.
Father and mother expectations only expected us to, we made a choice to live up to our choices. We didn't have to live up to their choices for us. We had to live up to our choices for ourselves. So he wanted to be a criminal, and I wanted to change the world through music and art.
Beautiful. Are you working on anything these days?
Yes. Actually, tomorrow I'm heading up to to New York because A&E, they're doing a special on Ice-T. So I'm going to do an interview with that. I got a new album out. I guess we could talk about it some other times called SchoollyD Crazy. That's why the original title was That Nigga's Crazy, because that's a tribute to Richard Pryor.
Yeah, exactly.
And I remember being a kid and Richard Pryor came on Johnny Carson. And I asked my mother, it was a school night. So can I stay up and watch Johnny Carson? Richard Pryor gonna be on there promoting his new record. And the record was called That Nigga's Crazy. And Johnny Carson came out and said, you know, the nigga's crazy. So I turned to my mother and said, you know what? When I grow up, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it with music. So from a young kid seeing that shit, who was gonna tell me that I couldn't be SchoollyD and be on TV? All my heroes did. Rich Pryor did it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fox did it. James Brown did it. George Clinton did it. All those guys. They didn't change. They was black as a motherfucker. They was cussing. They was nasty. They was rude. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? So
but your mom also encouraged and supported and said there's no barriers. You can do one. You're not in a box. And it's really important, you know, to be able to have that support.
Yeah, she made sure I had like all the tools, whether she agreed with it or not. She made sure, you know, the tools were there. So so my new record is on Symphonic, and I'm actually back working with Chris Schwartz.
Yeah, so Rough House. I know Chris
from Rough House release.
That's so cool, man. That's my guy from I used to go to Revival all the time back when in Philly, and I missed Chris, and that's why I met Be Real and Cypress Hill from those guys back in the day.
That was when I performed at what was it, Revival? I jumped out for like 3 times, and the last time Chris called my mother.
that's you gotta call you.
My mother like, baby, Chris on the phone. What you go, people? It's only gonna take a half hour. Why don't you just go? He'd be right down there. Imagine like a manager Revival calling my mom.
Yep.
Chris Weaver, can you make Schooly come down here and perform? We gave him money and everything.
He's just not showing up.
This seems to be a bit of a pattern with you.
There's a theme here, right? Yeah.
Schooly just doesn't show up. I'm honored that you showed up for this podcast.
I know.
I don't do that anymore. That was like that stuff you did when you were a kid.
Yeah.
No, I have like
I have a question. I have a question for this is something personally I wanted to know. So I named my cat when I used to have a cat, Cheeba. How did you? Where did you come up with Cheeba, y'all? I'm just trying to. There we go.
We heard it. I heard it on. I don't know if it was Wild Man Steve. I don't know. It was like one of those.
You like some call Cheeba, some call weed, and it's a killer.
I heard on like one of those records that
Cheeba.
When I was a kid,
called it Cheeba. Yeah.
I was allowed to listen to, but my older brothers weren't, and they always confused them. It was like, he's the youngest out of 9, but how can he get to listen to all this shit? For some reason, my parents knew, like, well, because he can handle it, and they would say that all the time.
That's
I call it weed. I call it Cheeba.
Yeah.
So when it just stuck in my head, and when I was smoking weed at Cheeba, some dealers called it Cheeba, and some dealers called it weed. And I think that Cheeba was the shit that got you real high.
Yep.
Yeah. And the weed was the shit which is mild.
Yeah, it's the weed was
the killer. It's the thriller. It's the thing that you need.
Killer was like,
and then it was a kind bud.
Yeah, that was the killer.
The killer was the kind bud.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like your mom smoked weed.
The killer was the one that had the PCP laced in it.
Yeah, right? Killer was that shit. Man, what the whoa? It was like that shit.
Right.
So so
that's interesting.
So I wanted to go and ask. We're coming up on we already taken up a lot.
We've taken a lot of your time. Thank you.
But I still feel like I didn't say shit.
Well, you can keep talking and talking. It's fine. I just want to get my questions in.
I got a cocktail.
All right.
You know what I'm saying? My girl.
Enjoy. So I have. I always ask the guests these 3 questions and questions. So go through and ask them, and then you can talk about anything else you want. I just want to get them in.
Yeah.
All right. So first question is, please describe your first experience with cannabis, weed.
Cheeba.
If you remember.
I lied and said I smoked it before. And I remember being at this bitch house. I was trying to we skipped school and shit. And I was invited. I think her name was Tweety. The big tits.
Around how old were you?
13.
Got it.
And so yeah, it's like 12. And I remember being at the house, and I remember trying to smoke like a cigarette. And I took a real long drag, and it stayed in there. And I don't know what, but that drag, that first hit was just kind of came out slow. My eyes bugged, and I always remember there's somebody doing this. Took another hit. Somebody, and I was I thought I was there for a month. I was there for 10 minutes.
Wow.
It was just like said my boys had to walk me home. I had to tell my mama I got sick in school. So I think it smelled the shit all over. He got sick in school, Miss Weaver. He got the flu. It was like you know, but at the end of the year,
Cheeba flu.
Skipping school around May.
That's hysterical.
I could just see my mother like shaking her head. I think that's my first, yeah.
That's funny. All right. So the next question is, we're John and I are both music guys, obviously. You're a music guy too. Is there an album, a song, or something that's like your go-to that whenever you have to go to an album, this is what you put on, and this is your song, and whether you consume
Well, I got so many, but Adore is one of them.
Adore.
Adore by Prince.
Adore. Oh yeah.
Oh, Adore by Prince. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Adore, it could be a spiritual song. It could be a love song. It could be your love of music, love of art. It's just that thing. When I first, because I always talk about when I met you, you were like kind of unattainable, but I talked to you like all night. It'd be like, it's like he's talking about his first guitar. You know, the first time you paint, it's just like shit. I'm fuck with you like all night. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what I'm doing here. And it's like or you know what I'm saying, when you're just thinking about when you want to reminisce on like that shit you did, not in your 20s with women, in your 30s. In your 20s, that was just the energy. When you start learning how to, as Richard Pryor say, learn how to fuck. You know what I mean? And talk shit. Like you fucking. You know what I mean? That song Adore, man, and it's probably plenty more for other different reasons, like One Nation Under Groove,
right?
That and Funkenteleki. That puts me, if I want to draw, if I want to draw one of the SchoollyD old characters, because that's when I started drawing the SchoollyD characters. I gotta have one of those. I gotta have that album on, those albums on.
Yeah.
You know, Funkenteleki versus the Placebo Syndrome. I play the whole thing, and I can draw and I can paint, but I can't do it right without those records.
Just when you're doing your art, I mean, you mentioned you were very high when you did P.S.K, and do you still consume? Does that help you get in a flow?
Well, I don't smoke anymore, but I do edible. Right. Because it's like my asthma is just like just. I mean, you could give me weed, it'll sit there, but if you give me some fucking gummies.
We're gonna have to get you some gummies for this after this.
Yeah, we'll get you some gummies.
Really?
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah. Whatever you want, man.
Yeah.
We'll get you some.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. And my I had a girlfriend, she used to make butter, so she used to make the chocolate chip cookies, and so
dude, you got to come to LA. We're spoiled. We have everything. Everything you can possibly want.
You don't have to say that. LA y'all got everything anyway. In LA.
Yeah.
It's true.
It's like it's everything. What the fuck?
All right. Well, when you come here, you're a guest. We will take care of it. But we'll take care of you anyway. But I don't want to put on the air. You'll some way, somehow there'll be some gummies will find their way. All right. So the third one is, what has cannabis, weed, Cheeba meant in your life?
I'm going to say it's I'm glad I started drawing and painting and playing music and creating music before I got high, because if I didn't, I swear to it, it would be a crutch. I would think the weed, because it's so good. It makes you feel so good and so free.
Yeah.
You would think that that's what it was. And you know, I mean, come on, how many times have you heard somebody's artist that you love that say they're going straight in the next album or it's a piece of shit because in their head, it was the drug that made them feel feel that way.
Right.
So it's important. It's important to me because it just added something extra. It was like if I was thinking of something, I was thinking like, you know what, maybe this blue can be a little bluer, or maybe I should add some green, but I'm not going to do it because I don't want to risk it. The weed says you could do it.
Yeah.
So I already had the art, I already had the music, but the weed made me say it was the extra me saying you could do that shit, dude. You could, and whether it looked good or not, I could like if I ever felt like I was being too straight even for myself, I could smoke and was like inhibitions just going.
Yeah, love that.
You know, for a couple hours, and it's just like you're just like okay, the brush is just flowing. You know what I'm saying? And then you got to put the brush down because then you got to make some contour lines and shit like that. You can't do that shit all fucked up. You know what I mean? I can't make the high top fade of SchoollyD. I can't make that shit straight. But all the other shit, like all the shit that if you go back and you read all the little sayings that I scribbled on, it was like that's the shit that was definitely high. You read all this shit. I was definitely high writing that shit.
Right.
And I wanted to be high because I wanted to be. It felt more natural. It felt more fun because I remember just like all the Funkadelic records and all the Ohio Play records. And back in the day, you'd get the open up thing. They did it for a purpose, so you could put your, you know what I'm saying, and you could separate the seeds. You separate, you know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's right.
I knew cats was smoking weed, listening to my records and reading my album covers. So I wanted to make sure that it was just like that's the experience that they're gonna get a pure experience.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
If
it's gonna be about weed.
I'll do my Saturday night.
Yep. If you look at this, if a motherfucker is reading it, it's just like, yeah, I want it to be like, like this motherfucker must have been high. And I didn't want to lie and say I wasn't. So,
Man, I never thought about my Ohio Players. That's why when I opened up that Ohio Players record when I was a kid and that girl with the fire hose.
Right?
I have it up there somewhere.
That was like my first centerfold.
Wasn't it?
Exactly.
And I know what you mean about painting. So I paint too, oil. And sometimes you can get high and it's not where you want to be because you don't want to be that abstract. You want to be precise. And when you're high, you sort of paint outside lines. Sometimes you want to stay within lines.
When you want to deal with colors, it's like when John Coltrane they say he would come in, it's like, this needs to be more blue, more, if you never got high and use music or art that way, you don't understand it. But it's just like, so you can get blue and green when you high, but when you gotta get something down to the point, it's just like,
get blue.
You might not want to be high. For me.
That absolutely makes sense. No, it makes sense. All right. So I have a bonus question and then
you're free.
Then you're free, but you can talk about whatever you want. We'll have you on forever. So please describe what your room looked like growing up.
The Shah Rock.
It went through like many stages. It was just like, it was 9 kids in a 3-bedroom house.
Wow.
So it was like stacked. It was like 3 stacks. And I was on the bottom.
That's crazy.
So, the first time I heard my older brothers whacking off, I'm like, what the fuck is that?
To the Ohio Players record.
When they fucking discovered whacking off, I just that shit. But once they all moved out, I remember I asked them, I was like that kid that sat in his room for hours just staring. I said, yo, Mom, can I paint my room black? And she was like, yeah.
Go for it.
I went up on this black paint. I started painting the walls and ceiling and shit. And I started going bonkers. Because that's what they say. It's like I couldn't, because I would like put the blinds down, I would close the door, make it completely dark, and was like, holy shit. So she came and kicked my ass. So I got to leave the ceiling black. And I painted stars and shit like that on top. Let's turn those. And I had everybody got their stereo. And I had tons of like Funky 4+1 sequence. I had posters.
Yeah.
On another wall, I had all my drawings and paintings. I used to do these. I used to make these. I had a desk, in my room. I did this series of X-rated comic books. That's why I had made money. And it was like, one was called Bat Dick. And he had this huge dick.
Dude, I got to get one of those. Where can I get one?
I just sold the painting of that. I'm going to start it again. I just sold the painting of one of the covers in New York.
I want one.
He had this huge dick. And he was like, instead of solving the crime, he would fuck the women. And Robin, and he would blame it on Robin because his dick was so big. He would kill the women. He would blame it on Robin. Robin would get arrested. So if you look at some of my paintings, you'll see a Batman is always saying Robin did it. And every time there was a new crime,
SchoollyD
would have to go bail Robin out.
Only SchoollyD would do Bat Dick.
And then I had Jaws. And he was only interested in eating pussy.
You probably have a market for those right now.
Sneak up on girls and just like start eating, like spread their legs.
Dude, it's hysterical, man.
So I was that was so at a desk I would like create my cartoons and my comic books, and it was like this, and then we had to put everybody had to put bars. When crack started, everybody had to put bars on the windows because
people
crackheads, they'll do what they'll do.
Yeah,
they'll come in and steal your fucking 19-inch Sony TV, Sanyo.
Yeah.
So it was I think it was just with I guess it was just like with it was like the black version of the Brady Bunch. And like I would
backing off I
would always consider myself the black version of Dennis the Menace. I mean, that was bad, but I was just kind of like, what if we do this? Kind of bad. What if we set this on fire? Kind of bad.
Yeah. What I mean? Let's see what happens.
Yeah, let's see what happens with this. I was that kind of bad. You know what I'm saying? So that's it was the black version of the remember who's the oldest kid? He finally got his own room on the Brady Bunch.
Greg.
Greg. When Greg finally got his own, that's what it looked like, but the black version. So I had like I had glow in the dark.
You're the black Greg Brady.
I had the SchoollyD signs. You know what I'm saying? And Virgo, and you know what I'm saying. So I had that shit. Had a little thing for my incense and shit.
Right. Love that.
So it was, but we didn't. That's what we had to go on because we didn't have any images.
Right.
You had to come up with your own stuff. Now there's thousands.
Right.
Which I fucking hate about what we're going through in America. Like we have too many images to tell kids what to fucking look like and do. And those images are coming from, I'm sorry, dude, old racist white men, sexist.
All right, man.
They tell these girls what to do, what to look like. They are. They say, well, if you don't, you're not, this is what black is, and this is what little girls should look like, and they tell them, say this is what hippies look like. You know what I mean? So it's like they gave us a lane. So now you have these images. Back then we didn't have any images. You came up with your own shit. So it was,
I think that generation is gonna die off, and then we'll be able to do our own thing. Soon.
Well,
I hope so.
As long as motherfuckers like us keep reminding, like, I remind my kids all the time. It's like, dude, just that's cool.
Yeah. I do too. That support that your mom gave you, I try to do the same thing for my dog. Whatever, anything is possible. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, both our kids are artists.
For sure.
Yep. Right. So as long as we stay alive longer than those old dusty bastards, because you don't know, they could be. What did the QAnon say? That they drank kids' blood.
Yeah.
They drink kids' blood to stay alive forever, and they live in the center of the earth with the lizard people.
Who the fuck want to be here forever? That's what I'm thinking. I'm like
that.
Who the fuck want to be here forever? What the fuck is wrong? Nobody wants to be here forever. I don't want to be
and be old forever. Yeah.
I know, right? It's like, I want to go to another planet.
I think there's a certain amount of money where you get to a certain point and people just go crazy. Like once you hit that amount, you're like, what else can I do? I can do a couple of years.
I was a dick. I tell people I was a dick for 2 years. I swear to God. I said, I'm going. This was like somewhere around 95. I was just like, I'm going for it, man. Fuck it. I got shit. Fuck, I'm being a dick. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
It was not me.
It wasn't you, right?
It wasn't me. Because I was, people were just like, man, you need to hang around. You kind of big. You need to date models. And I was like, never try this shit, man. That shit's boring as hell.
Yeah.
That shit's boring as hell, man. It is boring.
Well,
I'm gonna go.
Yeah, well,
I got some more stuff to talk about.
Let's do this again,
time, man.
For sure, you're always welcome. Where can people find more about you? Or
I'm in Instagram. I got SchoollyD on. I got 2 SchoollyDs on Facebook. The SchoollyD fan and Jesse Bond's SchoollyD, and I got Mr. SchoollyD and SchoollyD DEE on Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel. And I'm filming it now. So I'm doing the editing now. I'm going to start a new Sunday School with SchoollyD. So start my Instagram. So it's going to come on every Sunday. I'm going to do 8 episodes. It's going to start around May.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's great, man.
It's going to be pretty fucking funny.
A lot of stuff to look forward to, man.
Hey, man, we're so grateful.
That's what my therapist said today.
It's too much.
She was like, you got a lot of shit to be excited about.
That's all right, man. It's great, man. I have an octopus tattoo because I'm always doing multiple things, man, at the same time. Right? So it's like that's what you do, man. Multiple things. Not pigeonhole yourself. Love it.
Daddy said, you're here, you might as well do something.
Exactly. Hey, man. So grateful. Thank you so much for doing this,
Schooly.
Super excited.
This is blew my expectations away.
Really? Because sometimes I get off.
No, dude, you're good.
Amazing, brother.
I could talk to you for
You have to come back on again when your album drops. All that stuff.
When you drop it.
When the album drops, I'll come back on.
And we're gonna get your address for those edibles.
Yeah. I'll hit you. Okay. Sure, I got you.
Right.
No worries.
All right.
Thanks so much.
Okay.
All right, man.
What do I do now?
You can just sign out when you want, or I can also get you out. Hold on.
Oh, leave. Okay. All right. Cool.
You're leaving. All right, Schooly. Thank you. Peace. I mean, what do you say?
I mean, I'm blown away. This was.
I mean, come on. He was incredible. What
amazing.
He's a real true artist.
Amazing.
I mean, really.
What energy. This was like, I don't even know what to say. All the expectations that I had.
I know.
I mean,
I didn't expect him to be like that at all.
I probably have about 10 more questions to ask, but
I know
it was already an hour in.
I know. I feel like we could do part 2 and just like pick up from, because I had a million questions too. And I was like, what am I going to do? I could keep this guy here, poor guy here for 3 hours. But I hope the audience liked it as much as we do. We did.
You know what, audience, no offense, but I don't give a fuck.
We just got to live our dream. We just got to live.
Whoever else likes it, great. It's a bonus for you. If you don't like it, oh well.
And I got one word for you. That voice. Anyway. All right. Well, we came into a Have You Heard because it's too much. It's like nothing can follow that. We will be back with our regular scheduled program next week. Yes. And we will reflect on this, and we will do our lists of best whatever it is. But I think we should.
I'm still
end on a high note. It's like the George Costanza where you just want to leave on the high note, right? We just leave on a high.
This was amazing. Right. It was amazing, and I agree with you. We'll reconvene next week.
All right, man. Great. I'll see you later, Len.
All right.
Peace.